wormhole to another world. Teleport. Come forth. Now this one is about the city you're born in, or the island you're born in, or the country you're born in. Now, right now, I want you to check out Deal Figure Entertainment, like always, STAYFIYA. Check that out on deck. Understand? And join me on social media and follow me and share my videos there. Million, trillion years from now, share them. Alright? Now, so I was looking at where I was born. Now, so I was born on the island. Well, the economic system down there is slow compared to the American. But most of the people, they fetch on their own. That's what they do on the island. And they learn trade to survive, or they farm, or do what they have to do to get around. Understand? Of course, you got the same thing in Jamaica. It's the same thing here. People do it on a different level. Understand? But when I came to America, I started to look at how it is, and it's where people born in. Now, where I come from, I don't see people live on top of each other like that. It might be down on the parish, but where I'm from, people live in single home, or they just live in a one-bedroom home. Understand? Some of them look like coop. Understand? But they survive is what I know they do. So when I come to the concrete jungle now, I start to look at how the people them in there, how they're born. Now, for example, now we have the project, and they have the building them where people live on top of them. So I noticed that once a girl have a baby, him and the boyfriend break up, she run to the government, and the government give them welfare. So the youths them grow up to have a mindset where they don't really need the father there, because the system taking care of the man them. And the man them is always getting trapped, or keep down, or shoot down, and prison. Because you got to look at how you're born. And when I say how you're born, in the city where you're born. You understand? Or in the country where you're born, where you run. So I've spent most of my life here in America, so I giving you the American side. No, so the woman that have the young youth, she have 4, 5, 6, or 8, and the system take care of them. The man now, anyway, the system find him and put child support on him. You understand? Even if he doing the right thing, taking care of her, and do everything, she will just flip out, just put him on child support. This is just how it works. This is how it works here. You understand? And next I notice, I'm looking at how the people them that born in it, my words stumble a little bit, but the borning of inside our city where everything construct already, everything construct for the people. And you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Everything construct for the people. And you see, I just break down with the girl, everything there for the man. Even if the man is broke and he don't have no way to live, you could go to the shelter and the shelter will support him. But you have to follow how the shelter do it. You understand? You got to look where you're born. If you don't have no food, you could go down and get the food program, and you could get free food. Understand? You could live in the shelter if you want. This is when you're broke, but you have to be working or doing something to better yourself, because the shelter not going to make you just sit there like that. Understand? He's going to always give you new things to do for you to advance. You got to look how where you're born. Understand? And when you're born in America here, you can see NYPD. Understand? And in our neighborhood, you don't see no black men rolling around in our neighborhood. You see white people rolling around in our neighborhood. When you go to black neighborhood, no, when I say black neighborhood, pardon, when you go to white neighborhood, you see white people. But in our black neighborhood, what you see? You see white people. You see the strangest thing? All right. So you got to look at where you born at. No, so now you look around and say, who own the real estates them where you born at? Have you ever noticed that your skin color as a black man, you don't own that? And some of these buildings don't even owned by Americans. Some of them owned by people outside the country. Understand? Chinese, they own a whole lot of America. A whole lot of America, that's what I noticed. They bought, from what I read, they owe America about $14 trillion. That's what they owe America. Because we're talking about where we're born at, right? And where I grew up at. This is what I should have made the video, where I born at and where I grew up at. This is what it is about. No, so I look at how it is. And I look at the Caribbean side. I notice the Caribbean, they have their Caribbean restaurant. And I notice they have Chinaman have this restaurant. And I notice the The Puerto Rican, they have the bars and the corner store. When you go to a white neighborhood, you see white people doing the same thing. You see white people at the bar, you see them on the corner store. But in my neighborhood, I don't see my race doing that in America. When I see my race with a shop, he maybe have a little 99-cent store, or he doing a little restaurant. Understand? African American them now, they're very poor on that. They don't really have nothing that represent them. Like, okay, that's the African American them over there. I don't see that. In my neighborhood, I'm not talking about no other things about after. But in my neighborhood, I know what represent the other race. But in the neighborhood where I'm from, right, Queens, I don't know what represent African American. I like to say it freaking trouble. Understand? But they need to get something to represent them, you understand? Yeah, they need to have like a restaurant for them. Like, yeah, that's what they cook. You understand? Because you have the Chinese have his ways cook, the Jamaican, the Puerto Rican, the Dominican, and the Asian. But we can't tell what the American cook. You could go to McDonald's, that's what they cook. But what about the one from the hood vibe? You understand? I don't see that. This is where I grew up at. This is where I born in the island and I came here. Understand? So this is what I'm trying to tell you. And the next thing I noticed that, after a while they turn prisoner. Yeah, only a few skillful black men actually like, what I call it, like make it out. And only about 3 or 5% of them turn police officer. Maybe 1% of them turn firefighter. This is New York State. But if you go down to like DC State, you will see mostly firefighter, they are black. If you go to VA, you will notice a different percentage of black people are black. You understand? But I want you to understand me clear. I don't want to hurt nobody feeling and say the wrong thing. I'm talking about where I'm at, which is New York City. And New York City is different because when you go outside of some state, it's ruled by black people. DC, for one, is run by black people. You understand? I go there and I see firefighters are black. I see mostly police patrolling boys are black. This is where I say, all right, not all the state is like that. Understand? But in New York City, where I'm at, no African American, I'm not to represent them. When I go down south, like VA and Maryland, you could walk right into an African American store and say, let me get some collard green and some potato. You could do that there. Understand? You know that the Jamaican them be like, the Yankee them think that. You understand? That their restaurant, the Jamaican restaurant them around there. So, you understand? But here in New York, you don't see that. This is where I grew up at, and I was born in the island, so I grew up here. Understand? So listen, next thing I noticed, like the schooling, a lot of them will get the schooling, get the education, but they don't do nothing with it. They don't do nothing with it, man. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You could spell and all that and check all that, and you calling me slow, but you're not doing nothing with your knowledge. You calling me slow, but look what I'm producing to you. I'm bringing my knowledge and my way to you. What you doing with your mind that you went to your university and college? What I noticed, they don't do nothing with their knowledge that they got. You understand? And they're some very smart people, especially African Americans. There are some very smart black men, very smart black women, but they don't do nothing with the knowledge. But I know why they don't do nothing with the knowledge. Because when they try to pursue their knowledge, like far as I open business, do things with it, they don't get no love. Like far as getting business loan and things, they don't get no love like that. They get fight down and stop and sick and die. Understand? This is what I noticed with them. Because there's a lot of striving black brothers here, and a lot of striving black women that try to advance themselves, and that's what they face. This is my neighborhood. So all nation who watch this camera, I don't know about your nation. Understand? But in my nations of black people, this is what's going on with them. That's what I see happening here in New York State. But remember, this is just New York State. You go down to Philadelphia or PA or whatever you want to call it, you see strengths of black men. Understand? You see strengths of white and Puerto Rican. But in New York State, you see less of that. Understand? So next one I want to tell you about, and I'm going to skip it going on. When it comes to business, man, black people here, and when it comes to business, don't last long. Yeah, next thing, man, business don't last long for black men here, man. Because a lot of black men try to do the business that been there already before. You understand? It been there before it even birthed. It been there before they even come to the earth. Before even ancestors was born, the business was there. You understand? So most of us are like starting business But when we start the business now, we don't have enough money to fund the business. I started a delivery business and I put on an insurance of commercial on it, but I was not getting the customer I need. And the price I'm charging the people at that time, it was too steep for them. You understand? So I have to nickel it down a little. And plus I was working at the time. But when we start business as a black person coming from poor neighborhoods or a minority neighborhood, you have to start one where you know you could maintain. And this is why kill all of us hand, man. If you don't start business where you could maintain, that's where the problem is going to be, man. You have to find one where you could maintain. And mine was, I was trying to do delivery, but I was trying to get it do with the paper, like deliver newspaper. I was trying to get it with the newspaper, where the newspaper gives me the advertising, and I go around the neighborhood and drop them off. But when I started to do it, I realized it was not a black man thing, it was other race thing. That's another thing I noticed here growing up in New York. Understand? You could have a talent, you could have a procedure, you could have a flow, you could have a drive, but when you choose a business, you like to get contract, if it's not a black thing or less black folks doing it, it's going to be very hard for you to get in it. Remember, I tell you, this happening everywhere. Even when it comes to job. It's the same thing. You could have a high bachelor degree in anything you want, but if it's not a black trade, man, you're not going to get hired. Understand? This is how it is. So everybody watch my videos million, trillion, billion years from now, man. Remember, this was a video as where the city you're born in and where you grew up at. Understand? So you got to just watch what's going on. There's a lot of things I could have said to it. But, hey, what we got here in America as black folks is the music, and you got a good jump shot. That's black man thing. Understand? All right, peace.